Hello everyone, and welcome to today's presentation, About Quincy. I'm Mike Richmond, your host for this session at Exemplar Global's Career Pathways Expo. Well, I'm joined today by Gretchen Peterson. Gretchen is a knowledge management administrator at ASQ. She's got a wealth of experience in knowledge analysis and research with a particular focus on the quality field during the last 10 years. In this presentation, Gretchen is going to show and tell you about Quincy, ASQ's latest endeavor to support members. So with that, Gretchen, thanks for joining us and take it away.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me. Hi, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today to share a little bit with you about, as I like to call him, my baby bird, Quincy. But first, before I jump right into that, quick refresher about ASQ. ASQ is a global organization focused on quality. We've been around for just, shy of 80 years and really try to support organizations and individuals in their reaching for excellence in their operations. Um, and through that, one of our latest offerings is Quincy. We know that AI is a super hot topic right now, and we wanted to offer something in that realm for our ASQ members. So, for a big focus for me this year has been kind of creating and crafting Quincy and the experience around Quincy. So before I show you Quincy, let me just tell you a little bit about him. And yes, I do sort of anthropomorphize him a little bit and call Quincy him. But what is Quincy? So this is our large language model, and it's really designed to help quality professionals worldwide. So what does that mean for you? What that means is that you can come at any point to ASQ's website. You can navigate over to Quincy and you can work with Quincy to solve your questions, to develop best practices for your own organization, to get quick definitions. There's just a host of things you can do with Quincy. So really, Quincy is there to provide this extremely credible, curated content for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Quincy does not take a day off. Some really great things about Quincy is that Quincy is able to translate on the fly. So Quincy can speak up, more than 50 languages. So really, we are trying to bring a unique service and offering to what is truly a global audience. And through Quincy, you are really accessing the very best of content that ASQ has to offer. So, what I mean by that is Quincy has learned the contents of more than 100 of our Quality Press books. Quality Press is ASQ's imprint, our publishing imprint. So, Quincy has ingested and trained on more than 100 of the titles that we have published. Quincy has learned hundreds of pages on our website. And then, in addition to that, Quincy has also learned thousands of journal and magazine articles that ASQ has published over the last several decades. So, I'll just share a little bit about my personal feelings about AI by way of talking about Quincy. By training, I'm a librarian, and librarians are known for wanting to know answers. Librarians are known for wanting to work with credible sources. Librarians want to, validate information. Librarians want information to be treated rigorously and carefully. Um, so when AI was first coming on the scene, I tended to be a bit of an AI skeptic. And a lot of that I point to as my background as a librarian. Because, a lot of AI solutions are just sort of out indiscriminately on the internet, hoovering up all of this information and data. And we all know that the quality of information on the internet varies wildly and widely, and not everything that is found online can be trusted. And so it was with this skeptical perspective I started working with Quincy. And one thing that was extremely important for the entire team at ASQ as we developed this tool was we wanted this to be just as credible as we could make it. And so, with that perspective and being able to really hand select and carefully meticulously verify the information that Quincy was training on, we've really been able to deliver on that experience and that hope for what we wanted to do. So this slide tells just a little bit more about the nature of the content that Quincy has really been consuming and how we are able as an organization, as ASQ, to really validate the high quality nature of this content. So for example, on the previous slide, I shared that Quincy has trained on thousands of journal and magazine articles. So beyond Quality Progress, which is our monthly membership magazine, that's our flagship publication, ASQ also publishes or co-publishes a host of additional other serial publications. And what I can tell you about all of these publications is that they go through a very careful process, that the content is really stepped through multiple reviews. And so when we're looking at this journal and magazine content, some of it is much more academic focused. It's much more research focused. But all of our content goes through a double blind peer review process. So what that does is it ensures that the person who is submitting content to be considered for publication, they don't know who's reviewing their content, and the reviewer does not know who the author is. So we've taken additional steps to really remove as much bias as humanly possible from this process. So this is a really rigorous process. It's really sort of the gold standard when you're looking to validate the credibility of content. And our book content kind of goes through a similar process, and the books kind of go through a couple different reviews. A group of peers will sort of determine when a book comes in, does this make sense? Are these sort of, I guess, suggestions that are in the book, are they valid? Is this reliable information? So there's a vetting process that happens initially, and then before the book goes to publication, it's reviewed again. So there are all of these sort of checkpoints along the way to ensure that the quality of the content that ASQ is generating is really there, is at that top-notch level. And so what I like to think of is that because we have so much visibility and transparency to how this content is generated and how it is published, that really at the end of the day, Quincy isn't, his diet does not consist of, McDonald's cheeseburgers and Taco Bell. Quincy is really being fed the best content that's out there. So Quincy is getting the sushi grade salmon versus the fast food menu. He's getting the best of the best, and in turn is able to give the best of the best support to our ASQ members. So just a little bit about sort of how Quincy works. He's a widget that is on our webpage, and when users come into the website, when members come into the website, they sign in and they get to interact with this widget that exists there. And so what's happening is that, we're using this LLM, and it's paired with what is called RAG technology. So that is retrieval augmented generation. And what that happens, and we'll see it just in a few minutes when I do a demonstration, is that yes, Quincy is generating an answer based on all of the content that Quincy has learned and is in his knowledge base, but then he's going to take it a step further and he's going to point you to additional resources. So if you're someone like me who likes to validate information, yes, you can get this wonderful answer and you can read it and it's really great, but then you also most of the time will be presented additional options where you can actually go out and do a little bit more investigation on your own. You can, and many times look at the source of the information that Quincy was using to generate that answer. And so Quincy has been very carefully crafted in such a way that he knows the world of ASQ content. Quincy does not know everything on the internet. So if you come to Quincy and you ask, why is the sky blue? Quincy might not have an answer for that unless that appeared somewhere in our literature that Quincy has consumed. So really the focus is really and truly on quality management, quality practices, certification, quality tools, all of these really important themes and topics that make up ASQ's body of knowledge. And, these are the things that we've been publishing about for decades. There are, with all of the hype around AI, there are also sort of these concerns that bubble up justifiably. Because it is, in many ways, this is new technology, and the full implications and understandings aren't always available to us immediately. So, one of the things that I wanted to talk just a little bit about is the idea of a hallucination, right? And this is where an LLM generates something that is wrong, or it's not being applied correctly, or it's misleading. The best way to reduce hallucinations is to ensure that the content that your LLM is ingesting is the best content that's available. So if you know you've done the work to validate the content, you understand the quality of the content and the data sources that your AI tool is training on and is ingesting. Um, if you know that that's the best of the best, that is your kind of your best option to reduce hallucinations. So for us, because we have been so mindful in our crafting and our construction of Quincy, and we've been so careful in how we have selected content for Quincy to train on and to learn and understand. Um, while we're always mindful of the idea of hallucinations, for us, we feel that it is less of a concern than it might be for other AI tools because we have just really a much more closed pool of data that we're working with. The other thing that people think about is, like these models will like run away and, take over. There's no human sort of control or interaction in this in the system, and the system, goes rogue or something, right? Um, Again, this is not something we're worried about with our Quincy because we all have incorporated a human in the loop. And in our case, it's many humans in the loop. This is the personal involvement in the development, training, and operation of your tool. So it's not as if we just crafted this thing, slapped it on the website, and never think about it again or look at it again. That's not at all what's happening. We're constantly evaluating the sources. We're adding new sources. We're adding additional, links for Quincy to train on. As new content comes out, we are ensuring that Quincy is continuing to ingest that new content so that his knowledge base continues to grow and expand. And then we also do analysis of the feedback that comes into this tool. And we are excited when feedback comes in because we want to know what Quincy is doing well, but we also want to know and understand what Quincy could be doing better. So this isn't something that was just to set it and forget it. This is something that we continue to invest significant time and resources in ensuring that the performance is where we want it to be, but always keeping a mind toward opportunities for continuous improvement. So I did want to just talk a little bit about Quincy and your career. Um, I spoke a little bit earlier about my background as a librarian. I was kind of an AI skeptic. So for me, getting comfortable with Quincy was a bit of a mindset shift. And I think that this is something that probably a lot of people can relate to. And I think that that's something that is a major theme in a lot of discussions around AI right now is that there's a certain amount of discomfort. There's some people who really embrace it, but then there are others of us who are a little like, oh, I'm not so sure about this. And one thing that I did for me that was really helpful is I did a lot of my own research and I did a lot of my own reading. And that was how I learned more about AI. For other people, it might look very different. Maybe you're listening to a podcast or you're watching YouTube videos or whatever. I will say that in earlier this year, in January or February, I think ASQ published a really wonderful book, Artificial Intelligence Fundamentals by Jayat Moon. And for me and for my work with Quincy, this book was, I mean, so tremendously helpful. So if you are someone who is working in a quality space, who is working in for a creditor or you're an auditor or whatever. This book is so practical and offers so much rich information about how you can bring in AI tools into your own workspaces and in your own careers and in your own job functions in a really practical way. But I will say that if you're someone who's looking to develop comfort in AI, I think Quincy is such an easy to use platform, super low stakes, um, very, very easy, very clear. And I think it's a great place for people to get their feet wet if they're looking to kind of build some comfort about around how do I do all of this AI stuff. So I think it's a great place to get started. And of course, Quincy has at this point ingested just such a significant amount of information, right? There's so much that has been published about AI and impact on careers and everything. And Quincy he's ingested so much of this and he's kind of done a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So Quincy is able to synthesize everything that ASQ has been publishing in this area that is highly relevant to probably just about everybody watching this presentation, and he can really give some great guidance for you. So that being said, I'm going to kind of jump over to this site, asq.org, and I will show you guys just where you can get to Quincy. So give me 1 second here to navigate over there. Where Quincy lives. It's really easy to get to. So asq.org is the website, and Quincy is right here in our top toolbar. Very easy to find. And of course, we have some other Quincy related materials on the homepage as well that will take you to his homepage, or as I sometimes like to think of it, as his nest. So here's our main Quincy page. And here he is. He's ready to help you right now. Um, we have some suggested questions for you. If you're not sure how to get started, you can click on any of these and they will get you going. But if you're ready to start working with Quincy, you can just kind of type your questions in here below. So uh, I will tell you, I had a typo there, but even if I had left the typo there, Quincy is pretty clever and he would have understood what I was asking for, um, which is pretty cool to see. So you might notice it might take a moment or two for the response to filter in, but once it starts coming in, it usually is pretty smooth. So you can see Quincy is giving a pretty good detailed response. What I do like to point out is what you see here below, because I think that these additional resources, this is where we see sort of the augmented generation happening, where we're getting additional resources that relate to what Quincy has already shared with us. But now these are all links on the website to articles that you can take a click on and go check out. I will also point out that while Quincy is a member benefit, I do want to highlight that non-members of ASQ also may access Quincy. What happens when a non-member comes to the website, you will have to sign in. So you will have to create a website account. If you've not done that already, you would need to do that in order to work with Quincy. And what you will find is that you will have a different experience than what a member will have. Members have unlimited access to Quincy. You can ask, 100 questions a day if you so choose. Non-members will have limited number of questions to ask Quincy every day, and the answers will be shorter, they'll be briefer, and the knowledge base for non-members as compared to members is a little bit different, but you can still, work with Quincy and get some questions answered. Uh, so let's see, what else can we ask Quincy? So of course, I'm just asking here about Six Sigma Green Belt certification. One thing ASQ is known for is the variety of certifications that we offer. I'll scroll down so you can see a little bit. So um, here we go. Quincy is giving us lots of great information about Six Sigma Green Belt. These are all links that take me elsewhere on the website where I can learn a bit more. One thing I did mention earlier was feedback and using feedback with this tool to improve that experience. If you work with Quincy and you are satisfied with an answer, you can give it a thumbs up. If you think there's something Quincy could do better, definitely encourage you to give that information as well. You can give a thumbs down, and then you'll be able to, a text box will pop open. You can give some additional information as well. Um, it's really interesting what people ask. So it can be pretty basic, like tell me about five whys. So Quincy is very well versed in a host of quality tools, as you might imagine. So here Quincy's giving some nice detail about five whys analysis, how to use it, examples, on, and some nice links to um, additional resources on the website. But you can do, some compare contrast. And I would say don't be afraid to push Quincy for more and see what Quincy can do. I can say that there are a few things Quincy won't do. Quincy won't make images for you. Quincy can't give you like a PowerPoint presentation or can't generate a template for you. Quincy might be able to link to a template that exists somewhere on the website, but won't be able to kind of generate that stuff specifically. So I'm going to ask Quincy to create a policy for me. And let's see how Quincy does. Of course, control of documents is something that applies to many industries, and of course is important for some of the big standards out there. And so in this case, Quincy is suggesting a book to us that is all about this particular question. So I think that gives a good sense of what Quincy can do and Quincy can offer. So I'm going to stop sharing real quick and pop back to the slide deck. Da, 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 da. And I'll turn it over to Mike.
Well, that was great, Gretchen. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for showing us your good friend Quincy. I think we all appreciate a good owl. So thank you for that. Really nice job. And I think everyone out there who's watching now should check it out because it is a lot of good, as you can see from that little demo, a lot of good utility in that tool. So a lot of practical
Okay.
use that you can get out of it. So thank you for doing that. If you have questions for us, you want to know some more about Quincy, you want to interact with us about that, just write us to the email there, info@exemplarglobal.org. We'll get your questions right over to Gretchen. She'll get right back to you with answers and how you can participate with Quincy. Before we close the session, of course, be sure to claim your CPD for this presentation that demonstrates your continuous education and your desire to show that you are learning and going forward in your career. So be sure to do that, and be sure to watch out for the rest of our sessions here at the Expo. We have a number of on-demand sessions as well as a few live panels coming up at the end of the Expo as well. So thanks again to all of you for joining us. Thank you, Gretchen, for doing that. Really great to see you. And we'll see you at the next session here at Exemplar Global's Online Expo. So long.
Thank you.